Hello, everybody. How y'all doing today? All right. It is time for this week in supervision. I just feel like that I'm gonna miss something today, but I'm hoping not. All right. And so this week in supervision, we get the opportunity to talk to you about the things that that I've discussed in some of my supervision groups. And I'm excited to do that. We just had a supervisor training and we have people coming out, and a lot of times there's anxiety and fear, trepidation about what am I going to share? What am I going to what am I going to share with the people with the group? Like, am I going to be coming with content that is meaningful and that they value and that they feel like that they're learning from? And so this we try to talk about that during this week in supervision. And so I got a couple of things that I want to jump into to help maybe, and we'll see if we can do this some justice, to help you maybe if you are trying to come up with questions. So ChatGPT has been a big plus for me. It's a really quick, efficient way to try to up your game when you're trying to bring content to your group that maybe you haven't been able to get all the research together yourself. And you're saying, okay, well, this came to my mind. What about this? Or what about that? And then you get to profile it and choose what you're going to bring into it. Again, I always say with ChatGPT, you don't want to rely solely on ChatGPT for your answers without kind of fact checking or kind of knowing a little bit about what you're talking about, because a lot of times it could lead you in the wrong direction. But lately, we've been talking about dissociation because that has been something that it keeps showing up with my supervisees. As a matter of fact, it's something that we talked about today with someone who had been working with a situation where dissociation was present. And I wanted to bring the tool that I discovered, but we kind of ran out of time because I promise you all, especially since ChatGPT has come available, I have more content than I can share in the group. And that's a good problem to have. But let's jump into it a little bit. I want to see if I can share my screen. But just before we do that, y'all know the routine. I wanted to share with you all about our DSM training that is coming up on February the 16th. This is a 3-hour training, and it is an approved training for those of us who are clinical social workers, and some of us don't know about it, but a new policy, a new law has been enacted starting January 1st of this year, to where anyone who has a clinical license is now required to take a DSM-5 TR training. Doesn't have to be ours, but we would like for it to be. And so we have that available. And we just got done with training, and so we just got done with a supervisor training. We've got another one in March. And so all you got to do is click in and you can get the details there. If you're looking for a great supervisor training, we got the one for you. But I want to talk about this one too for those of you all who are in Social Workers Alabama. We know we get a good little deal on this, but we are having a training. I'm so happy to announce that my sister will be presenting a training on EMDR, and that will be at the end of February 27th. EMDR Insights: Nurturing Attachment Amidst Trauma. You don't want to miss that. That is a free CEU right here on Social Workers Alabama. That is free to members, and to those who aren't members, we have we'll give you the information on that as well. Well, we want to jump on into what we have scheduled for today. We want to talk about today. All right. And all right, we want to talk a little bit about these dissociations. Okay. Because a lot of times when your clients are having dissociations, in your supervisees or counseling clients with dissociation, how are we able to identify that? Real quick, one of the ways that I start out supervision is I like to talk about wins. It may be a win that I'm experiencing because I'm trying to motivate the base. I spent a number of minutes today talking about that just to get people locked in with seeing the vision of where they're going, right? And then we talk about wins, maybe that I may start off with a few wins to do the icebreaker. Then they talk about the wins that they have had, and then we get into scenarios and case like materials, and then we go into questions. So like by the time you get done with that, sometimes it's only like 20 or 30 minutes left. Like today, it was only really 20 minutes left to get into the details, and that's why we weren't able to finish it. But I want to share with you some of what we kind of locked in on. And so I want you to observe how to use ChatGPT to get things really quickly and on the go for your supervision experience. All right. And this is really good just for your own personal learning as well. All right. So when we started off the group, I asked a few questions, and so this is ChatGPT, and it's kind of breaking down here some of the questions that I asked, and we're gonna switch up to here, okay? And this is where I start off. But let me go back to my other notes here. Man, I always get mixed up on these screens, y'all. I'm so sorry. Okay, here we go. So one of the first questions that I asked was I asked like, excuse me, what do you all know about dissociations? Okay. Um, and so I started off with asking questions about dissociations. And it's important that they know what the root causes for dissociations are. I even had a video that I want to share that I wasn't even able to share with this group because so a lot of times you're not going to have a shortage. Okay, it'll be many things. If you use the format that I'm speaking about, you engage your group, then there'll be plenty to talk about. Okay, so what are some of the root causes of dissociation? And so we discussed that. We discussed how trauma is highly connected with dissociation. We did discuss what dissociation is, what it looks like, what are some of the symptoms of it, and we just keep doing this, repeat until you see your supervisees getting fast with it. All right. And we talked about how trauma is also deeply connected with dissociations. Then we move to the question. I think that's the one that we have here in the screen. Boy, oh boy. And the question is, who is the theorist known for attachment and attachment styles? Who is the theorist known for attachment style? So, like, if you look here, you can see, like, I'm literally just rambling. Okay, create, and this is what I asked it to do: create, because it just came to my mind. We're talking about dissociations and things like that, and dissociations are many times connected to or attachment. Actually had a video to break that down. And so we were kind of moving in that direction, connecting dissociations with poor attachment. And so since we're on attachment, it's like, okay, since we're talking about attachment, who is the theorist known for attachment and attachment styles? Okay. And so that was the question that came about when I asked create multiple choice questions. And this is important. Create multiple choice questions with, see, that was a bad English, but ChatGPT picks it up. And I wanted to ask the question something like this. So you're just talking normal, it'll pick it up. Sometimes I'm like, can you please, because I'm polite and I was a computer, but I just forget I don't feel comfortable not leaving the please off. But the question goes something like this. Who is the theorist for attachment styles? This is an important part. Provide the answer in a detailed explanation. You want it to give you a detailed explanation, or it won't hardly give you anything. So I need the answer to each question, because if you don't ask it for the answer, it actually will give you the questions but no answers. All right. Provide an answer, the answer and a detailed explanation. Then I like to add on to that, because this can really stretch out the time in your group and get some good engagement, because you're really getting down into the nitty gritties of what this thing is all about. Because by the time you get done, you don't want them just to know the answer to this, because by now we know the answer is Bobley, but we want to make sure that they know who Skinner is. And I talk about this all the time. Who is Skinner? Who is Erickson? Who is Freud? Okay, so these were the options that ChatGPT gave me. And so when you say provide the explanation for provide an explanation for the incorrect answers as well, you're actually kind of getting them in the mindset too of how to study for their questions, the study questions for the exam, because that you want them to be in the practice if they go and buy some materials to support them. of studying the ones that are not the answers as well. So this is a good way to prime them for what's coming. Okay. And so and then it gives an explanation. It's the answer John Bowlby, and it says, how he's a theorist that's associated with attachment theory. He introduced the concept and yada yada yada. Then it goes on to Freud. He was into psychoanalysis, and it goes on to tell you more about Freud. And then it talks about Skinner and how he was a behavioralist. So if he was a behavioralist, okay, well, what was he into? What was he known for? Operant conditioning. Freud, what was he into? Psychoanalysis, right? And when we got down to Erickson, we talked a little bit about the situation with Erickson. I keep trying to bring that information back. So that was one of the questions that we asked ChatGPT. And then we skipped over to this one. What is likely to be the attachment style for a person who has been diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder? I think I asked ChatGPT to reorganize that question later because I didn't like it. You see right here, that's all you have to do. And say rephrase the question. I wanted to sound a little bit more professional. It said, okay, so it said, what attachment style is more likely to be observed in an individual diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder? And I want to give y'all the answer, but anyway, we'll do it this way today. But so again, in priming them to kind of understand these attachment styles, which is very essential for them to be able to correctly treat. These theories matter because they help you to get to the bottom of what it is that you're trying to help the client to resolve. Okay. And so what we need to notice, if we let me see if I can share this here. And I like to use this. You all may have seen it before. Let me see. I like to use this little quadrant here when we're looking at attachment styles. And it kind of breaks down. Here we go. The different attachment styles. Okay. And so what you want to know is down here at the bottom is all the avoidant. So these are the individuals that don't really trust others. Okay. So the primary question that we're always asking is, if we're going to try to answer the question, the multiple choice question, we want them to understand one of the first questions they want to ask is like, what does the person feel about themselves? What is their idea and how do they feel about others? How do they do in relationships? Do they attach in relationships? Well, none of them attach, but how do they feel about others? So is it a positive view about self, or is it a negative view about self? Is it a positive view about others? Is it a negative view about others? And this is what you'll see right here when we're looking at let's just say the fearful avoidant style. This person has a negative view about relationships with others, and they have a negative view about themselves. And actually, this is the answer for for that question, dissociative identity disorder. Someone who has dissociative identity disorder, and this is not for everybody, but they may have, or you want to rule it out with them, a negative view of self and a negative view of others. And really, when we get down into this quadrant here, this is the more difficult one to treat. I think a lot of personality disorders end up in this quadrant right here. And yeah, it's very difficult. But this is the thing that you want to help them to realize. So let's just say, and I wish I had this profile, but let's just say that you have someone who has a negative view about themselves and a negative view about others. Well, you can choose the modality and how you try to support them, but this is how it works when you're talking about attachment style. To try to support them with better mental health, any one of these two that you change that is a negative ends up being a win, a huge win. Sometimes I personally like to start off with the view about themselves. And that's just with any client. I like to train my people to kind of look at things from that way, because the thing is that when you're solid, when your core beliefs about yourself is good, then sometimes your belief about others, it just starts to diminish things. So if I believe that I am a good person, if I believe that I have a lot to bring to the table, if I believe that I'm worthy, that I'm lovable, that I'm attractive and things like that, then the view, if I'm confident in myself, I have less of an emphasis about or less of a concern about what other people are viewing or thinking about me. So that was some of the things that we discussed. I didn't mean to go this long. And this is how we broke it down. You see how ChatGPT, it gives those detailed explanations of the answer, which is not also helpful for the supervisee, but it's also helpful for the supervisor. So I hope that's been helpful. We hope to see you all again next week. Y'all take care and God bless. All right. Bye-bye.